Coming up on the show, the Senior Associate Provost for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion is a new position on campus. The person who holds it is a familiar face at USM. Find out the position's primary focus at the top of the show.
Golden Eagle Spotlight anchor Amaya Norman talks with USM President Joseph Paul. See what they talked about later in the show. SMTV News for Wednesday, March 22nd, 2023 begins now.
From the Chuck Scarborough Television Studio on the campus of the University of Southern Mississippi, this is SMTV News. News you can use.
Hello, USM. I'm Bethal Miles.
And I'm Madisone Hatten. Thank you for tuning in to SMTV. A familiar face is returning to USM to stand in for a new position in the office of the Provost, Dr. Eddie Holloway.
SM2 reporter Simeon Gates talks with USM's first Black Assistant Vice President for Student Affairs and Dean of Students about his new role on campus.
Dr. Eddie Holloway came out of retirement this month to serve as Interim Senior Associate Provost of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. Southern Miss caught up with Dr. Cheryl Jenkins and Dr. Holloway to talk about the importance of diversity in USM's faculty and staff.
On February 27th, Dr. Joe Paul announced a new administrative position, Senior Associate Provost for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. Dr. Eddie Holloway, USM alum and former Assistant Vice President of Student Affairs, came out of retirement to fill the position until a permanent candidate is found. The position's goal is to work with existing offices to address the lack of diversity in Southern Miss's faculty and staff. Dr. Holloway discussed the importance of his position.
Are 28%, if not more, students of color, but significantly less professional staff and professionals, faculty members.
The issue of diversity at Southern Miss is not new. Dr. Cheryl Jenkins talked about some of the issues USM faces in recruiting diverse faculty.
The diaspora, we don't have the best reputation, and so when there is an opportunity here, we also need to be more intentional about what it is actually like to live in this area as a Black person, to be a part of this community.
Simeon Gates, SM2 News.
Hundreds of students gather in the Thad Cochran Center Ballroom Civil for the Armstrong Branch Lecture Series earlier this month. Dawn Zuli Abernathy is the goddaughter of civil rights legend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. She was born into a community that was built on fighting for equal rights for Black people in America. Abernathy told the story of her history within the movement, her story after the movement, and how her upbringing impacted her future as an activist. Abernathy showed pictures of civil rights moments throughout history, and some pictures even featured herself alongside Dr. King. Abernathy was well aware of the impact that the movement had on her and wanted to spread the importance of it to people here in Mississippi.
Oh my goodness, it was tremendous. It was huge. It's Mississippi. And so much happened in Mississippi, so I thought it was more important than ever. Oh, and we're gonna roll that shoulder back.
Then Abernathy called for love among all of the fight for equality continues.
The historic Eureka School in the 6th Street Museum District has a new fence serving a boundary line and a display wall. The Hattiesburg Convention Commission unveiled the Generation Strong Inspiring African Americans of Hattiesburg commemorative wall on February 23rd. The wall's purpose is to share inspiring stories of African Americans from Hattiesburg who shaped the community. Mitch Williams, a member of the community and honoree, is humbled to have his picture among the most prominent and inspiring figures that helped shape Hattiesburg.
Out of this wall here are doctors and lawyers and teachers and professors and all kinds of educators, just incredible people that the building blocks of even of our city were built on their shoulders. And now what's so awesome about this is that history will say that it is available for folks to learn about these people that are on this wall that help build not only the city of Hattiesburg, but the community around it.
The display is a permanent fixture in the museum district and is open to viewing at any time from daylight to 10 p.m.
The nation, sponsored by the International Student and Scholar Service Office, hosted its first International Cuisine and Music Festival in the Baptist Student Union. Southern Miss International students from Colombia, India, Nepal, Bangladesh, Nigeria, the United States, and Spain represented their cultures. They performed songs and dances as well as played on musical instruments. The international students also made delicious dishes, drinks, and desserts from parts of Africa, Europe, East and South Asia, Latin America, and Terrarian.
That it's so important that we get to have this opportunity to come together to share food and music and performancing, and it really does have such an impact on the students to see that they're valued and that they have a place here and they're recognized.
If you want to be a part of the Nations, please visit their Instagram page at thenations.usm.
Executive Chief Joshua Cathy wins the Aramark competition at Auburn University. Reporter Maya Evans has more on the story.
At the beginning of February, Joshua Cathy had the honor to compete in the South Region Aramark Culinary Excellence Competition, which is known as ACE at Auburn University, which he won first place for his black and jerk fish dish.
Well, the ACE competition is a nationwide competition in Aramark, and so I was really excited when the company decided to bring it back. And so with some encouragement from my boss, Charles Dorsa, he encouraged me to apply.
As an executive chef of USM, students often come to the fresh and feed themselves to different variety of foods at the different stations. One student in particular had an opinion on her own.
I am fond of the food. I just wish we had a bit more of diverse options to choose from besides all the stuff we personally get all the time here. So that's my take on it.
Now Cathy will represent the University of Southern Mississippi at the Aramark Collegiate Hospitality Competition at the National ACE Competition in July. Maya Evans, SM2 News.
We still have several stories left in the show. Be sure to stay tuned for the latest news, sports, and weather affecting Hattiesburg.
Speaking of weather, Madison, let's toss it over to weather reporter Justice Didax for the latest updates on what's happening in the Pine Belt. Justice, what can we expect over the next week?
I'm Justice Dito, and I'm here with your SMTV weather. So let's go into the 7-day forecast. So for the 7-day forecast, as we can see, we have some normal weather going on. We have some mid-50s to mid-60s low weather, and then we have some high to mid-70s weather, and then early to mid-80s weather for the highs. As we see on Friday, it's going to be pretty stormy, so get your umbrellas and jackets ready. And as we go into Sunday through Tuesday, it's also going to be some rainy weather, so just prepare for that weather with your umbrellas. For our rain chances, as we see, Thursday we have an 8% chance of rain. Friday through Saturday, we have some high to mid chances of rain. We have 46% and 13%. Sunday and Monday is when we're going to have the most chances of rain throughout the 7-day forecast, so be prepared for that stormy weather. We're going to have some highs of 58%, and then on Tuesday, we're going to have a 34% chance of rain. So for that game day forecast, we have a low of 62 and a high of 84%. That is going to be some pretty sunny weather, but we have a 47% chance of rain, so just prepare. Maybe you have an umbrella at handy. You never know what that's going to look like for you. I'm Justice Dito, and that was your SMTV weather.
For news, weather, sports, and more, follow Southern Miss Student Media on all of our social media platforms: Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram.
The world is changing, and we are changing with it as our students create, inspire, and inform. Beginning this fall, the School of Media and Communication will take its Public Relations Master's degree fully online. That means students anywhere in Mississippi or around the world can get their advanced PR degree from the University of Southern Mississippi. Check us out as our students find new ways to create, inspire, and inform.
When it comes to mixing drugs, you may think you have a safe approach, but the truth is, your body can react differently every time, even if you've done them before. Whether you're mixing uppers, downers, or both, using multiple drugs can put extra stress on your heart, making it easier to overdose. Or stop your breathing. It can even be fatal. Drugs take over 250 lives every day. Know the dangers. Be aware. Learn more about the risks of mixing drugs. Visit cdc.gov/stop.
Welcome to the SMTV Flash News Briefing. Talks on the proposed expansion of Capital City Police in Jackson continue among members of both houses. On Tuesday, Lieutenant Governor Delbert Hosemann and House Speaker Philip Gunn finished selecting 10 senators and representatives to work on the final version of 2 bills in each chamber. The city of Jackson is more than 80% black, but only 1 or 10% of the members on the committee are as well. Here's a representative, Earl Banks of Jackson. Banks has voted against both versions of the bill, but he believes that the city needs to be safer. For the last 2 years, Jackson, Mississippi has had the highest murder rate per capita among major cities in the United States. Policymakers at the Federal Reserve anonymously voted to raise the benchmark interest rate to just under 5%. This is the 9th consecutive time the Fed has done so since March of last year. Many urge the Fed to curb raising the interest rates based on Silicon Valley Bank and Signature Banks collapsing earlier this month. Despite the scare within the U.S. financial sector reaching overseas, the agency expressed confidence in the U.S. banking system. The Fed continuously seeks to raise interest rates to fight inflation. Annual inflation in February was 6% down from 9.1 last June, but still well above the Ned's target of 2%. On Tuesday, Uganda's parliament passed legislation that can make simply being queer or even an ally to the LGBT community subjected to life in prison. The Speaker of the Uganda Parliament, Anita Among, congratulated the assembly of nearly 400 members who voted for the bill. Only 2 representatives voted against it. Internationally, commitment came almost immediately after the measure, which some consider the most harmful legislation against the queer community worldwide. U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken said this bill would undermine fundamental human rights. Human rights which called the legislation egregious. Despite the international backlash, Uganda President Yoweri Museveni is expected to sign into law.
Welcome to the SMTV Sports Recap. Southern Miss Athletics has been soaring all over the boards as Eagle Sports has had a busy spring break. Men's basketball opened up the NIT tournament on Tuesday, March 14th, as they took a tough loss to end the season against UAB in Birmingham at Bartow Arena. Sliding into baseball, the Eagles are 12-8, opening up their Sun Belt play at Texas State as tough series as they went 1-2 overall for the past weekend. On Tuesday, the Eagles took a tough loss against Louisiana as they lost 6-3. On the softball side, the Lady Eagles are 15-9 after opening up Sunbelt play against the Louisiana Raging Cajuns, where the Lady Eagles faced defeat throughout the 3-game series. The Lady Eagles will play again against Marshall for a 3-game series starting Friday, March 24th. Dashing into the Southern Miss track and field, they debuted their outdoor campaign at the South Alabama Invitational on March 17th, 18th in Mobile, Alabama. The Golden Eagles became away with 6 personal bests, 5 first-place finishes, and many others in the top 10 of their events. The Eagles will head to Tallahassee, Florida to compete in the Florida State Relays on March 23rd and 24th. This will be Southern Miss's first appearance since 2018. And lastly, the moment you've all been waiting for, this week's 4th Street Player of the Week. This week it goes to Cross Sibley, who pitched 6 innings, allowing only 2 hits and 0 runs and had 6 strikeouts. This has been Amari Anderson with your sports recap. Back to you.
Coming up next is your community calendar with Stephanie Smith. Be sure to write down these important dates on your calendar.
And on this week's Golden Eagle Spotlight, USM President Joe Paul joins Amaya Norman in the studio to talk about pressing matters on campus. Don't go anywhere.
The world is changing, and we are changing with it as our students create, inspire, and inform. Beginning this fall, the School of Media and Communication will launch its strategic communication program that incorporates public relations, advertising, media sales, and organizational communication. Check us out as our students find new ways to create, inspire, and inform.
Hey Mississippi, we are so excited to announce the launch of the new MEMA app. You can customize weather alerts, get preparedness tips, report damage, and so much more. You can download it today for free at the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store. We hope you enjoy it, and of course, stay safe, Mississippi.
If you're watching this with your friends, you'll probably make a joke.
Because you know what you feel on the inside isn't what you want people to know.
If you have to pretend to be happy, find someone you trust and tell them.
If you get mad at things and you don't know why, or have thoughts about hurting yourself,
find someone you trust and tell them.
You are never alone when you share. Seriously, people care about you.
It's okay to not understand what you're feeling.
And it's easy to think that you're all alone.
But you don't have to be.
You're never alone when you share. Don't be ashamed to tell someone you trust what you're feeling.
You're not alone.
You are not alone. Find someone you trust and tell them.
Tell a parent.
Tell a teacher. Tell a brother or sister.
Or just tell a friend.
You haven't done anything wrong.
Talk to someone.
Talk to someone.
It's how things get better.
Hello everyone, I am Stephanie Smith and welcome to the Southern Miss Community Calendar. The USM Game Studies Group presents Spin the Yard, a Twine Game Jam, March 24th from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. The opening session will take place in the Liberal Arts Building, room 334. For more information, visit their Instagram page at usm.lit.games. The African Caribbean Society will have an Afro dance class on March 24th at 5:30 p.m. in the Payne Center. The Prism office presents Once Upon a Time Second Chance Prom on March 25th from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. The event will take place in the Thad Cochran Center, Ballroom 218. Formal attire is required. The Pakistani Student Organization will have Ramadan Iftar dinner on April 3rd at 7 p.m. in the Thad Cochran Center, room 216. To sign up, please visit their Instagram page at PSO_USM. SMAC will have karaoke night on April 5th. The event begins from 7 to 9 p.m. at the Powerhouse across from Cook Library. That is all for today, Golden Eagles. I'm Stephanie Smith, and this has been your Southern Miss Community Calendar.
Welcome back to another episode of Golden Eagle Spotlight. I'm your host, Amaya Norman, and right across from me is a very special guest who dedicated 40 years of service to his alma mater, a University of Southern Miss Hall of Fame, and USM President. How are you doing today, Mr. President?
I'm well. It's nice to be with you.
It's nice to be with you. So we're going to go ahead and jump right into it. Tell us about your journey here at USM.
Well, my journey began as a college freshman, way back. I showed up from Bay St. Louis, Mississippi in 1971. Moved into a residence hall, earned a degree in communications, had a lot of classes right here in this college hall. Took a job right out of college at a small town chamber of commerce, and 14 months after leaving, came back to the university in an entry-level job in student activities. I sort of redirected my education then, sort of fell in love with working with students outside of the classroom, and continued my journey at Southern Miss. In the mid-'80s, I became Dean of Students. And then in 1993, I became Vice President for Student Affairs here and worked for 21 years in that capacity under 5 different university presidents. I then retired, and more recently, last summer, was called back into duty to be the 11th president of the university. And I'm honored to serve this place that I love so very dearly.
And we're honored to have you as a president.
Thank you.
So as USM president now, what are your goals here as of increasement in enrollment for students and faculty, especially with diversity?
Yeah. So it's absolutely a top priority of mine to grow our enrollment. We're in a marketplace where there are fewer and fewer high school students each year. It actually kind of bottoms out in 2025. So that means that there's a crowded marketplace to get students to come to your university. But at Southern Miss, we're so strategically located, and we have such fantastic academic programs, there's really no reason for anybody to drive through Hattiesburg to go to college anywhere else. So growing the student enrollment is clearly our #1 priority. You mentioned faculty. We've got a great faculty. Southern Miss is a Carnegie Research One institution, but we're one with heart. We're one that has good class sizes for students. Our average class size is 22. Our faculty have averaged over $122 million a year in funded research over the last 5 years. But the one area in our faculty that I want to see us grow is for our faculty to be more reflective of the diversity of our student body. Our student body is wonderfully diverse, about 33% non-white, mostly African-American, mostly African-American Mississippians. Our faculty, on the other hand, is only 5% African-American. And so we're initiating projects and strategies to try to, as time goes on and positions become available, recruit more faculty members of color to our institution. And I think we'll all be better for that.
Yeah, we will. Okay, so with the project, I want to also mention about resources for students. Is there any area you feel as though in your students are lacking in, and you feel like we need more? What resource do you feel like that's best available for students that's in need?
Right. Well, you know, Southern Miss students are gritty. They share our culture. They set big goals and they persist toward them. So I think the thing that our students need most, that I'm going to try to do through primarily private fundraising, is scholarship assistance. The cost of higher education, as you well know as a student, is very high. It's not going to turn backwards. And so we've got to be out and about encouraging philanthropic investors to invest in scholarships at Southern Miss. That's the #1 need of our students, in my opinion, is more scholarships.
Yes, more scholarships is important, actually. I also did research that you are a co-founder of the Pine Belt Leadership Program. How do you feel as though that can evolve around with students here on USM campus? How can that help them become a better leader as well?
Yeah, well, Leadership Pine Belt is an initiative of the Area Development Partnership, which is the Greater Hattiesburg Chamber of Commerce and Economic Development entity. And Leadership Pine Belt is for emerging professional young leaders. So it doesn't really apply to students. That said, I think that we can do a lot by the kind of student life and opportunities we provide to our students, for our students to learn and grow as leaders. You know, they get excellent instruction in the classroom, but we can, through the co-curricular and through opportunities for student leadership, help students to develop the interpersonal skills, the emotional intelligence, and the leadership skills that will make them highly successful when they leave our university.
Coming up next, the American Federation for Suicide Prevention recently had its annual walk on USM's campus.
Plus, Justice gives us a quick wrap-up of the weather. We'll be right back.
The world is changing, and we are changing with it as our students create, inspire, and inform. Beginning this fall, the School of Media and Communication will launch its digital journalism program that incorporates broadcast journalism and multimedia journalism. Check us out as our students find new ways to create, inspire, and inform.
The drug landscape has changed. Illegal fentanyl has made its way into the drug supply. And it's a danger you might not see coming. A synthetic opioid up to 50 times stronger than heroin, up to 100 times stronger than morphine. It only takes the tiniest amount to cause a fatal overdose. A fraction of a raindrop, or 3 grains of salt. Your drugs don't come with an ingredients list. Although fentanyl is being mixed into almost every kind of drug, you wouldn't be able to see it, or smell it, or taste it. Fentanyl is one of the most common drugs involved in overdose deaths. Know the dangers. Learn the facts about fentanyl and ways to protect yourself at cdc.gov/stop-overdose.
At a time when misinformation is all too common on social media, we take great pride in bringing you the news that matters, that impacts your family, news you can trust. Local broadcast journalists bring you the facts, covering the stories breaking in our community and across the globe. Text TV to 52886 and let Congress know you depend on local journalism. This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
Members of the Hattiesburg community came to USM's campus to walk out of the darkness for suicide prevention. SM2 reporter Simeon Gates was at the annual event on USM's campus.
Saturday, March 10th, USM held its 6th annual Out of Darkness campus walk to raise money for the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. Event organizer Molly Burke and community members came together to share their stories.
The American Foundation for Suicide Prevention provides for research, education, and fundraisers. Its most popular are its Out of the Darkness campus walks. This year's walk was organized by Morgan Burke, a graduate student in the School of Clinical Psychology. Burke told SM2 what she hopes attendees can gain from the walk.
People who participate in this walk can gain a sense of community, so everybody gets together and people say this is a problem, but also not just that this is a problem, but we want to do something about it, and we're all together, and a lot of us have suffered.
Most of the participants had direct experience with suicide, either by losing a loved one or struggling with suicidal thoughts. 3 of them agreed to share their advice for those who are struggling.
Talk to somebody, talk to somebody, talk to somebody. Don't be silent. Talk.
Please reach out. Please reach out. And people who are not struggling, please be aware.
The biggest piece of advice is to sleep through the night. The text to someone who you love and have them reach out.
If you or someone you know is struggling, please contact Student Counseling Services. If you want to get involved, please visit afsp.org. Simeon Gates.
So, Sethany, what are some big takeaways for the weather over the next few days?
That's a great question, Bethel. It's going to be warm over the next few days. The highs will be in the lower 80s and drop into the lower 70s next week. The lows will be all over the place, ranging from the mid-60s to the high 40s, but at least it won't be below freezing as it did earlier this week. Over the next week, you only need an umbrella on Friday, Sunday, and Monday. Otherwise, enjoy the sunshine.
So, what y'all do over the break?
I worked and played Sims.
I did exercising during the spring break, do some self-care, you know what I'm saying?
You can never go wrong with self-care.
Self-care is
Yes.
definitely important. 100%. Over the break, I did a little bit of exercise and went to see some family. Spent some time on the beach, even though it was a little cold.
I just caught up on some sleep. So.
Yeah.
I wish.
Thank you so much for watching SMTV.
Be sure to subscribe to our Southern Miss Student Media on YouTube and follow us on social media. You can find all these stories from today's show on our website, sm2media.com.
You will be sure to find a new episode of the show every other Wednesday evening.
Stay tuned for our next episode, which airs on April 5th.
This has been Stephanie Smith,
Bethal Miles,
Madisone Hatten,
and Amari Anderson. And as always, Southern Miss
to the top.
the latest SMTV News episode? Find us and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Southern Miss Student Media. If you would like to advertise with Southern Miss Student Media, give us a call today at 601-266-4258 or reach out to Justin Martin at wilbur.martin@usm.edu.
The University of Southern Mississippi Student Media Center is the heartbeat of the USM experience. The center is home to dozens of producers, writers, and visual artists of all types. In addition to news, entertainment, sports, music, and other programming, the center hosts a vibrant strategic communication division. It's made up of teams working on social media, advertising sales, graphics, and more. Everything is produced by students and for students, under the guidance of the Student Media Center professional staff. The center is housed in USM's School of Media and Communication, just down the bricks from the Rock and the Student Union. School Director Ed Simpson says the Student Media Center serves as the loudspeaker for the USM student voice and the training ground for the next generation of media professionals.
The Student Media Center is where our students get hands-on experience in real-world situations. That's because what we do serves real audiences and real clients.
Whatever you see yourself doing, the Student Media Center has a place for you.
We ask our students to find the truth and then tell it in a way that's compelling.
When students produce something for a live stream or for the radio, they know they gotta get it right.
Working here in the Student Media Center, when we say hands-on, it's not a slogan, it's what we do.
The Student Media Center is the voice of the Golden Eagles and home to the next generation of truth tellers, storytellers, and all those with the energy and desire to express their hearts in the fields they've chosen.
Join us